But let's talk about UFC 292, man. I mean, what a fucking card it was back in Boston. First time since 2018. Uh, and I just want to jump right into it. Let's get into the main event, the title fight between Sterling and Aljo.
Oh,
Before I ask you your thoughts, who did you have coming into it?
I'm not gonna be that guy that tries like lying and say I picked, but I did have Sean to win it in
Okay.
rounds as well. Not just saying it to say it, but I did have him in that second round, so I did feel kind of happy when that.
Did you bet it?
I That's the thing. I wish I would have bet it.
Ah.
I was on BetMGM early. I was looking at the odds, and then I don't know if I just busy or just decided against it at the time, but I do regret it now. I will say that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think him to win by KO was plus 400 or something like that. He was a real dog, and even him winning straight up was like a plus 200 or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
keeping me up at night thinking about it.
could have been a hefty paycheck, man. But you did make the pick. You were right. He did get it done. Second round TKO on a beautiful like pullback counter straight right. What did you think, man? Tell me.
I mean, honestly, we were watching it in the car on the way there, and I mean, when I could just sense like when the round started, it was just something was gonna happen, you know. And I felt it. Like once I seen him pull back, I'm like, and then he cocked it. I was just like, that's money right there.
And then Aljo face plants,
Yep.
and the ground and pound is all she wrote. I mean, I thought Aljo was gonna win this. I thought just stylistically, the wrestling, the different styles, uh, uh, Aljo style beats Sean's almost most of the time,
Right.
especially if his game plan is executed like Aljo always does.
Yep.
Sugar Sean, man, kept it on the feet. He and Aljo a bit of a overextension with his shot. He kind of put himself in a really really bad spot to get countered. And Sugar Sean, man, one of the best strikers in the world, caught that chin flushly.
Caught it
That
nice. That's the thing I was thinking about. It's like you got to figure this whole camp for Aljo is probably working against stuff like that. So it's kind of crazy that it would happen so early into the fight too. You know.
Yeah, dude. And I don't know if you keep up with like Aljo's vlogs and shit, but like every training, like all we seen was him fighting like Marab, training with guys who were grapplers and not necessarily tall, lengthy strikers with crazy speed like Sean is. He
Yep.
didn't really, to me, it looked like he didn't really prepare himself for last night, and he was hoping to make it a grappling match, but you're not fighting Marab. You're not fighting, one of these other grapplers. You're fighting probably the best striker in your division.
Right. That's the thing. Is Sean's a different type of fighter. You know, there's no one else that like even Aljamain was saying. There's no one that can really emulate exactly what Sean does in the fight. You know, that's the hardest part about it.
Yeah, man, that's real. And hearing it now, like that, he had that injury in the rib and he couldn't even wrestle, couldn't even prepare.
That's crazy. It's almost unbelievable in a sense.
For sure, it's like losing 140 pounds. That shit's crazy.
A little bit.
Oh man, so S- Sugar Sean and New. It feels like it's not true almost. It
Right.
feels like the other shoe's gonna fall and it's just a dream or it's not real. Sugar Sean's really the bantamweight champion of the world, dude.
Oh, seeing that belt around his waist, I mean, it does look pretty nice, man. I can't lie.
It does, and he just seems like a cool, goofy kid, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who'd be a good time to hang out with, and that's the best 35er in the world.
Best one all around.
Yeah, man. Oh man. Hanging out at the Encore this weekend, Sugar Sean, he's been posting a lot. How gorgeous is that Encore, huh?
I mean, that was the first time I've been to it, man, and I was pretty starstruck. I'll be honest,
Yeah, dude, it's fucking massive, right? And there's like
buddy.
what's that?
I was telling my buddy how big it was. Like you couldn't, like we got lost a little bit.
I believe it, man. And then I came in 2 different cars. So the person that the other group of friends that were meeting, it was like rocket science trying to meet up. Like
Right.
trying to describe what you see and let's meet here. Like it's
Oh,
impossible at the Encore, but a gorgeous place, man. That place is awesome.
oh yeah.
They had the co-main. Anything else about Aljo or Sean before we push past it?
I mean, honestly, the only thing about Aljo, I'd say, like, the crowd definitely was obviously against him, and I'd say he definitely carried himself pretty good, especially in the post fight and in the press conference. He definitely like, if there's any fans that were against him, like on a mentality basis, I feel like they definitely fell to the right side because Aljo carried himself like a true champion in the sense.
Agreed, man. He handled it with class, and at the beginning of his post-fight interview, the whole arena was booing him.
Yep.
And then just by his words, he, like, flipped everybody, and everybody was kinda cheering, "Chase your dreams, yada, yada." I think Volkanovski said it best this week. It feels like this Sugar Sean story, he's supposed to win this fight.
Yep. It felt like all it was supposed to be, like, not just saying it to say it, but it really did. Like, everything almost went to how he said it was gonna.
And boy, did it. That dude's world champion. I think he's 27 years of age, super young, man, like, the whole world ahead of him. Who do you wanna see him fight first to defend his strap?
I mean, that's a tough one, you know? There's not many, like, matchups right now with Corey being out that's really, like, the rightful contender. I mean, you could probably say Marab, but,
Mm,
most likely one is gonna be Cheeto, which I don't know how exactly I feel about that because coming off of only one win and after that Corey fight, I feel like he might have to or should go through another fight at least. In my
yeah. Agreed, agreed. A fight against Pedro Munoz doesn't really, solidify,
Mhm.
you know,
That
like, look at Sean. He fought Munoz, didn't go it wasn't a fi maybe the fight he expected, but then he went on to fight Peter Yan, number 1 guy, and then he earned his shot. So, I don't know, maybe Cheeto has to fight a Merab. Maybe he has to I don't know if a Corey rematch is in the books for him.
right.
But then there's the talk of a rematch potentially. Maybe Aljo just gets right back in there with Sugar Sean.
I'd be open for that. I'd be interested in seeing that.
Do you think he's done enough to deserve an immediate rematch?
I would say yeah. I would say yeah. He's beat a couple of contenders that are definitely like I mean, for a long time people were saying Henry Cejudo was the absolute best bantamweight. And then they're
Yeah.
saying that excuse me, I can't even think of the other one that I was thinking, Marab. Now the Marab is one of the top in the division, so it's crazy.
Yeah, man. It seems like things change so fast in the sport. Like 1 minute he could be the top guy, and then the next minute that guy could be the top. But it feels like Sugar Sean might have his spot locked for like the next decade.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is that like maybe being a little too generous, or is that realistic?
I mean, you got to look at it already. He's already been in the UFC since 2017, almost after they signed him. So that's 6 years already. 4 more years, you got to figure he can probably do a couple defenses and probably about maybe a year or two get a couple defenses under his belt if all goes to plan. So I would say that's not too crazy to think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm all in, man. I'm all in, especially seeing his embrace in a city like Boston, where he's not from here. He has no ties. You know what I'm saying? His name is Sean O'Malley, which sounds like he could be from here, but we all know he isn't. And I mean, even the bar I was at, close in the city, was all in favor of Sugar Sean, and I know the arena was that too. Watching back the fight and hearing the crowd go crazy for Sean and booing Aljo. Sugar Sean might be like top 3 superstar in the UFC right now,
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that.
right? Because the only guys that are up there is, of course, the Israel Adesanyas of the world, but then that's kinda it. Then it's like Sugar level. Nobody
Right.
feels like to be above that. Is that too generous?
No, I mean I'd agree with it, and especially like you said about being in Boston. Like you would assume that he was from Boston, how the fans,
Right.
like I said, at the press conference, at the weigh-ins, the fans were like absolutely insane going for O'Malley. So I'd say I agree with that.
You mentioned the press conference, we were both there for it. Aljo completely embraced the heel in his orange suit, like, completely. Talked about the Boston River, like, as if we have that. I'm like, "Dude, it's a fucking harbor, my boy." Uh, and Sugar Sean, yeah, just the stardom, bro. He's getting embraced in cities that he has no ties to. It's just
Right,
like, at least Ian Gary, who got a massive embrace, is Irish,
right,
you
exactly.
know? There's all Irish in Boston, so he has that connection, but Sugar, he really doesn't have much aside from being Sugar Sean O'Malley.